when I got a lady whose face is bit, and this guy, on Thursday, his face is bit. What the police do, they show up and say, have a nice day. They show up and say, have a nice day. And they had to contact me to get involved, to just to get an arrest warrant. But this man, I'm sorry, y'all. Let me put my mask back on. And let me calm down. As I was saying earlier, there is a clear video that shows this entire incident. It's from the Greenville News. It starts from the beginning to the end. It shows exactly what happened. Did Mr. McKissick come in fast, driving fast? No. I understand that. His intent of coming there is what I asked them to investigate. Because we know that he has some very racially motivated things on his Facebook page that talks about the KKK. So we know and believe that he came there with the intent to incite people. That's what he done. We also know that Mr. McKissick threw the first punch. So the police department just played a whole bunch of tapes. They slowed some down, they speed some up, they showed different angles. This one particular video from the Greenville News shows it from the beginning to the end. It does show Mr. McKissick's doors being open. It even shows me closing the door. It shows me talking to him, informing him that I will get him through the crowd. But then it also showed Mr. McKissick roll his window down, punch a girl, and that's what started everything. It also shows, and I want everybody to pay attention to this, it shows a lieutenant that was there during the moment when everything was going on. Someone throws a little water. That lieutenant left the side of Mr. McKissick's, where he was driving, his passenger side, left there to go chase a girl about some water instead of dealing with that issue. So he needs to be talked to. But he was a lieutenant that let this get out of control. It has got to stop where we have two justice systems in this state. We just saw a police chief have to resign for this same thing, letting white, rich, privileged people get off. If you got friends with judges, if you know the prosecutor, you can do whatever you want in Greenville and get away with it. You can. It happens. That's what just happened. This man, powerful, his family's probably the second richest family in Greenville. So he can do whatever he wants and get away with it. The video shows him striking a young lady. Why he's not charged with assault and battery? And this whole stand your ground, I am getting so sick and tired of people losing their lives, especially black men, and if somebody could have lost their life out there. Stand your ground. He's on somebody else's property, and they talking about stand your ground. That's what they just done. It's sad. It needs to stop. I am not going to stop. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to ask SLED to investigate this investigation. Because I'm willing to bet that the same thing that happened with Chief Miller, with those rich people that he let off, is the same thing that this chief here has done. Because you can tell from that press conference that that man does not need an attorney. He has Greenville City Police behind him all the way. He doesn't even have to hire an attorney. He has Greenville City Police with taxpayers' dollars behind him 100%. And how amazing that the man from Tanner's, where all this happens to have a press conference on the same day. Collaboration from the beginning. Collaboration. These racist individuals in this state are able to do whatever they want. And I'm telling you now, black America, we're not going for it. This will not go away. They think this is over. I assure you it's not. I will protest downtown Greenville from every single day if I have to, but this is not over with. I assure them this is not over with. We're not going to have this two justice systems, depending on where you live and your zip code. Depends on how much justice you get in Greenville, and that needs to stop. And I hope Mayor White, I hope he hear me just as clear, that this man should not be the new chief. Because I assure you, working with him, it's not going to happen. We're not going to go for this anymore. I'm tired of this every time we turn around. It is black people, we have to think about the investigation, y'all. It took 3 weeks for them to come up and say, well, it's malicious damage. When does it take we have murders that happen that don't take 3 weeks for an investigation. You know why it took 3 weeks? Because they had to get the story together. They had to get it together. You don't take 3 weeks to say we're going to charge somebody with malicious damage and then to come out and say we've done a thorough investigation. No, you didn't do a thorough investigation. You done an investigation to try to prove that this man didn't do anything. 3 weeks. Why? For malicious damage.
So what will satisfy you?
That they arrest that man.
And charge him with?
I think he needs to be charged with reckless endangerment. And when we say that, that talks about him coming to the town is to incite. That's what endangerment is. I'm not saying with the vehicle himself, but him coming to incite. That's the endangerment. He put everybody in risk with his actions. When he punched the girl, he should be charged with assault and battery. Plain and if somebody threw a rock and hit the car, they're charged. He threw a fist and hit a girl. Why he's not charged? And definitely the new hate crime bill that I helped get established in the city of Greenville, he definitely needs to be charged with that, because we can look at his Facebook page and tell that he's a racist. He's a white supremacist. He came there for an intent to cite because he knew that was a Black Lives Matter march, and he was there earlier that day. He knew the place was closed. He came back to incite. Look at his face on some of those pictures. That man came there for a purpose, to incite and endanger those protesters. So definitely 3 charges: endangerment, assault and battery, and intimidation, bias intimidation, which is the hate crimes ordinance for Greenville. That's what he should be charged with.
Can you talk real quick about the fact that you've been put on a no trespassing at Tanner's, and maybe you want to talk about something the media wouldn't know is how he approached you with a gun in his pocket?
So Derek and I just happened to be actually, well, we were parked in his. He was closed. He was gone. We were going to meet the protesters. They were gone. So Derek and I started talking. This guy pulled up. I did not know he had a gun in his pocket when he pulled up to address us. We were on live and people saw that and they called law enforcement, and a lot of law enforcement came out. But they basically patted this guy on the back. Good job.
Who is this guy?
The owner of Tanner's, not McKinsey. The owner. So we're walking through how this is working out because the Greenville City Police Department, for some reason, I guess they love racist individuals, because everybody's getting protection except for the protesters, myself, and Derek Quarles. Because I'm put on no trespassing, even though a guy approached me with a weapon, a gun. McKissick comes in, assaults a young lady. He's not arrested. He's on his way. In fact, he has the city police department as his biggest champion. So I'm talking about how fair this whole treatment is because of Black Lives Matter. That's what this is about. If this was anything else, the guy would be arrested. But then again, he's rich. His family's rich. He has connections. Of course, we're not going to charge him in Greenville. That's how things are happening here. If you know people, you got money, you don't get charged. But let that have been a black kid. See, we don't get that benefit of the doubt. We don't get all this extra where they do all this 3-week investigation. No, black kids, your ass go to jail and then you figure it out when you go to court, and they'll tell you that. But if you're white and privileged, you get the benefit of the doubt. Then we look for probable cause. When you're black and poor, you go to jail and you figure it out on your own. That's got to stop. That's what's got to stop. When we're talking about police reform, that's all they have to reform is stop doing it. Treat everybody equal. That's what the reform is. If you want to pass, and I'm telling Washington, if y'all want to pass a reform bill, that's what the reform bill is. Treat people fairly. I don't care what the treatment is, but let it be equal. That's what the reform is. Until we get that, there will be no justice. There will be no peace here. And I promise you there won't be peace on this. I'm not through with this issue. Far from it. This man needs to be charged.
What are you doing to help? I know you were raising money for Marquise. Needed the $1,000 by Monday for his lawyer, and now they haven't released the information just yet. I suspect it's in our emails waiting for us. Are you going to be helping the other protesters?
Whoever this guy is, of course, we're going to help them. We're going to help them. The young lady, look, the chief, they talk about we sent them all these different things. We sent them a lot of stuff. Been talking to them. And he's a liar, this chief is, straight up. They could have, if they let me know, I told him last week, tell me who the person is, I'll bring him down there. You don't have to go through this big deal. I'll bring him to you and let him turn himself in. So we're going to definitely help him out. We're going to help them get an attorney because we're going to fight this. We're going to fight this because it needs to be fought, because this is wrong. Treat people equally. That's all I'm asking. I don't want any preferential treatment. I'm not rich and famous. That's not what we're asking. Just treat them fairly, and that's what they're not doing. And that's what hurts me. That's what hurts me, because these protesters, we have been peaceful for the last 3 weeks. All I've been doing is screaming peace. I talked for 3 hours to a group of young men, not to burn that damn building down. I took my time, spoke with them, talked them out of doing it. I want this to be peaceful because I want the message to be understood. The more I talk about peace, I keep getting slapped in the face. I had an agreement with this chief, and he violated it, and it's on tape.
So when you talk about being unfair, now if it was a black man that would have punched a white woman, do you think it would have taken 3 weeks? Could he have gotten away with it?
He would have been in jail that same day.
And arrested first and then charged later?
That's what they do. See, when you're black, when you're poor, so you go to jail and then you got to fight your way out of it. You know, when you're rich and white, you get the benefit of the doubt. When you're poor and black, your ass go to jail and figure it out later. They're quick to tell you, let the courts figure it out. There's no investigation. We're not going to try to find out what happened. We're going to put the cuffs on you, put you in jail, and leave it alone. Case closed. But when you're rich, you know people, you know the judge, you know the prosecutor, you got money, your family got money. Oh, we're going to take our time to make sure that when we cover you correctly. The same thing as Chief Miller done is the same thing that Thompson's doing now, covering up for the wealthy, the rich, the privileged. That's why we march. And that's what allowed George Floyd to be killed. That privilege right there. That's what it is.
Bruce, what agreement did you have with the chief that you're speaking of?
Well, when we were doing a march, we agreed how we would do the march as far as going down to the city courthouse. The reason they didn't want us to go to the city, and I wasn't even thinking about this, the city court is because there was a large Confederate statue right beside, not too far from the city court. That's why they didn't want us to go there. But we had agreed, and we wasn't even thinking at the time about that Confederate. I'm thinking about it now, though, but we weren't thinking about it at the time that we would be going by that Confederate statue. He had agreed. And I guess when he thought about it, he had to make sure he stopped us, and we had a peaceful protest, and they shot us with pellets of mace. They shot us with it. It's on tape. They stopped our movement from a peaceful protest. And if you look at the equipment they had on for a peaceful protest, all the gear they had on, they were ready to attack us for a peaceful protest. Then they allow a white guy to come to another peaceful protest and attack us. And then they talk about, look at all the people around the car. You can see me in this video telling this guy, hold, calm down, I'll get you through this. Because that's what it's about. It's not about trying to attack somebody. I was not going to let anything happen. The video speaks for itself. Buddy, calm down, I'll get you through this. But then he punched the girl. People are already upset. We already just had a knee on our neck. And then you're going to punch a girl and think that there's no consequences? So sure the crowd was angry after he done that. Look at the whole video, not the shit that they showed you. Look at the whole video. That's what you need.
Is the girl that was punched, is she pressing charges?
Well, here's another thing, and I got the text message to prove it. That young lady went down there after this happened. They would not let her press charges. They tried to convince her nothing happened. The girl that got hit in the video, nothing happened. Then they tried to intimidate her. She comes home, texts me, Bruce, they're down here intimidating me. I text the chief, hey, why are you guys intimidating her? Oh, I'll check into it. Hadn't heard anything else about that. She wasn't even allowed to file a charge. Wasn't allowed. Mr. McKissick, though, he got the city police department on his side. This young lady was not even allowed to file a charge.
What evidence, you said McKissick was there earlier in the day at Tanner's. Police say that he told them that he didn't know there was a protest. First of all, your response to that, and then is there any photographic or video evidence?
I think we can go back and look at, there's plenty of photos, so we can definitely, video. I think some of the news crews were there before I got there. Now those two individuals that were sitting outside, two individuals. Now, how many people were in the car? How many people were in that vehicle? This guy came back to incite, to come to a Black Lives Matter protest.
To clarify, you believe that the two individuals were the two in the car, not Mr.
I definitely
McKissick
believe that
and
Mr.
Zeller.
McKenzie was out there earlier that day.
But you don't think it was Mr. Zeller, you think it was who was in the car?
We know
with
who
him?
Mr. Zeller is.
Sure.
We had a very spirited conversation with Mr. Zeller. So we
done.
know who he was, and everybody out there knew who he was. And they can stop this foolishness that he was coming there to get something to eat. Look at the time frame. It had been all over media, social media, all over television that we were out there, that the place was shut down. So they can stop that foolishness. He was just being innocent, coming to get him something to eat. He was coming to incite. And that's what he done. But of course, they can't say that because they're his biggest champion. And that's what needs to stop.
Here's a missing piece to the puzzle as well. The gentleman that was in the passenger seat, as you mentioned, to incite the crowd, he was wearing Trump 2020 apparel. And so it was described by his dress, by the smirk on the face, as far as, I just wanted to bring that point out.
The whole thing, and I think there's no doubt that these individuals came to this protest to incite. That's what it was. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We know, we can look at his Facebook page. when you got KKK memorabilia all over your page, you're a white supremacist. Ain't no ifs, ands. I'm not going to dance around it. That's what you are. You're a racist. You came to a Black Lives Matter protest to incite. Then you punch a black girl, white guy. You know that's going to incite. They're not talking about that, though. All they talking about how innocent he is. This guy's not innocent.
What do you think about the fact that
on camera? You mentioned earlier that you want SLED to take another
Yes.
look at this. What do you expect them to see that maybe Greenville Police missed?
That they covered up for this gentleman like they did for Chief Miller when he was here. The same way that Chief Miller covered up for a rich, privileged white guy. It's the same thing that's going on here. So they need to come in and look at it. But I don't want it to wait 2 years before they come in. I don't want it to be an accidental investigation and then we uncover that, oh, wait a minute, you guys got rid of a charge for this guy? I don't want that to happen. What I want them to do is get on it now while it's fresh and put a stop to this, because that's what needs to stop, or how these type of investigations are conducted. And I'm almost willing to say anytime that we have somebody white, rich, and privileged who knows the judges here in Greenville, the investigation may need to go to somebody else, because it is proven that the city police department of Greenville cannot handle it. They can't handle it. So maybe they need to just stop investigating. I thought it was bad that them investigating themselves, but the damn show can't investigate somebody that's got money. They won't do it. And we get the same thing every time. This is nothing new. So yes, I want SLED to come in and investigate how they conducted this.